Welcome, everyone. I'm Greg Schnell, a Canadian technician, here to host the Market Buzz. This show looks at weekly setups across the U.S. market. Using the tools available on StockCharts, we'll look for long time frame trades. Please subscribe to my articles and Twitter feed for information throughout the week. So our bull market continues. We got a little bit of a higher high going last week. I want to talk a little bit about volume today, and I think just a couple of interesting things on that. So we're going to cover that off, and then I want to spend a little bit of time going through the Nasdaq 100 stocks, and there's a reason for that. But I want to cover that off and just kind of work through it with you and see if you reach the same conclusion I do. Month-end charts still look bullish. So when I go around the world, one of the things I like to look at is which charts are above the 20-month moving average. Right now, they all are. Now, I can't tell you I feel like the market is that bullish, and maybe it's because I'm trading the Canadian market. I was talking to one of the technicians we have at StockCharts, and I showed them the Canadian market flat for 2 months. The U.S. market's been running up really well, and I think one of the differences on that is if you have a software space, it's been very bullish. And Canada has Shopify, so that stock has been bullish. But the rest of the stocks we haven't seen the breadth. Now we have a few outliers as well. Air Canada's up 500% over a couple of years, so there's some other ones that have really done well. But for the most part, we're not seeing the same bullish enthusiasm in Canada as we are in the US. So first of all, let's just update this chart and get a current view here. So this is a 10-minute chart of the Nasdaq 100 on the left and the S&P 500 on the right. And, we're kind of where we were July 15th. We're just hovering in there. So we made a new high last week, and now we've pulled back slightly. And of course, we have the Fed meeting today. Our PPO on the short-term chart is below zero. Don't really care. Need to have a longer time frame than 10 minutes for me to get too worried about where the PPO is going to be. So here we are on the Nasdaq 100, and the one point I want to make on here is, in general, we've just, since we broke out, call it 7,800 or so, 7,850. We're just hovering in here, haven't really done much for about 3 weeks. And so lots of people are touting the fact that we hit a new high, but really we haven't made any new ground, just kind of grinding sideways and waiting for the market to kind of pick a direction. So as we go through the earnings period, I think we'll all agree that tech had a really good earnings. Apple was up, Microsoft was up, Starbucks was up, Adobe was up. We had a pretty nice run. Google was up big. So as we're working through those charts, that's why I want to talk specifically about that group. So here we have the weekly charts. And again, the weekly charts, our PPOs are just getting up to the levels they were at when we rolled over the last couple of times here. So I'm a little more resistant. Some people don't look at that momentum curve as much as I do, but I think the weekly momentum curve is pretty important to me. And one of the things, maybe we'll just go up here and do that right now while we're here, dollar and dollar Indu. And the point I want to show on these two charts, so this is the Russell, and it's making new 2-week highs here, so that's finally bullish because it's starting to move. The Dow Jones Industrial hasn't really done anything since the middle of the month, hovering sideways since the 15th. And you can see the Russell, while it's up again today, has been traveling sideways, much like the Canadian market since February. So not really a whole bunch of bullishness there. And don't get me wrong, we're up slightly here, but this isn't a huge move, and it's still positive. So here's the Russell, and the big thing that I'm wondering about the Russell again is this momentum is flat down here right near zero, and it's trying to turn back up, and that's an important inflection point. And I've mentioned it many times that if the Russell can start to turn up here, I would get more bullish and more constructive on a broad improvement in the markets. Looking at the Dow Jones Industrial, you could see 26.6 January of 2018, and we're at 27.4 for our high. So that's I'll call it 800 on 26,000. So we're up slightly, not a lot, but up slightly. Looking at the point and figure charts, this one's still very bullish, right? You're up at the top here, and on the Russell, not not nearly as bullish, and a lot of resistance in this range, even if you go back past the prior high in the charts here. So this is the high that would be here shown on the chart, but just look at this horizontal level going back even to October 2017. We're kind of muddled in the same area. So really depends on which part of the market you play. And again, I think if you were in software stocks, you did well. And if you weren't in software stocks, you've probably muddled by. And off the 2018 pullback in October to December, roughly a 20% drop. Most things have rallied off that low pretty well. And we're working our way out of that hole. So again, we're back to kind of where we were. Some of the markets are up a little bit higher, but again, it was really very few sectors that participated, in my opinion. Okay, so how could we, I guess there's one way we could show that, right? We can just go over to the perf chart, and we can pick predefined groups, and under our predefined group, go to the sector ETFs, and then we just rewind this tape, and we're going to look up here in this top corner and just set this back at January 2018, 16, and coming in on it. There we go, pretty close. Okay, so in the last 2 years, if you were in discretionary, you were up 13%. Technology, obviously, these were the big winners, and communication services, these were really the big three. Utilities and real estate, so defensives, and then industrials, materials, energy, staples, financials, you haven't done very well. So again, my perspective would be that you had to be in these three. And again, they've been relative strength leaders. And why wouldn't you be? I'm just saying the rest of the world hasn't enjoyed that same run because they don't have the technology stocks that Silicon Valley has created. Okay, so with that as a backdrop, the one thing I want to show today is just, let's go get a feel for what is going on under the surface. And rather than being bullish or bearish, we can kind of use the charts to do that. So I have a chart list called Nasdaq 100, and it's pretty simple. What is it? It's made up of all of the charts in the Nasdaq 100. Now, in this particular case, there's a couple of things that happen, right? Stocks go in and out of the Nasdaq 100, and this is a very easy chart setup to create. So what I want to do here is I want to scroll. I put it in edit mode, right? So I'm in edit mode for my chart list. I'm going to scroll down to the bottom, and I'm going to delete all of the stocks in this list and get rid of them. And now that I've gotten rid of them, I have a blank canvas, and I'm going to go down here and I'm going to ask to add many or from a group. And in this particular case, I'm going to select a group, and I'm going to select NASDAQ 100. Now, you could go pick any one of these other ones that you wanted to, but today we're going to work on the NASDAQ 100. And this is going to give us a fresh list of all of the stocks in the NASDAQ 100. Now, my list is always fresh, but just showing you how easy it is to go and grab that list and populate a chart list with it. This isn't a lot of work. It takes, roughly 30 seconds to a minute. And you can see my slider bar up here is working. And so now we have all of the stocks in here. Now, they come in alphabetically, so that's not really the order we want to look at things. We need to look at them in some perspective. I like to use my, as we talk about in the opening, my weekly charts, and we want to go with something more important than just using the alphabet to try and sort these charts. So we're going to find this look. Personally, I think one of the things that's helpful is the scooter ranking, even for quick sorting. And so what I would do is say, I want to save this chart list type, and we're going to go down here and apply this style to all of the charts. And so now, rather than being a daily view, it's going to be this weekly 5-year chart. From that, we still need to rank them. So we're going to go back and we're going to pick them up in summary mode. And again, in edit list, when I'm in edit list, there's no choice in terms of sorting. So the reason that we use the summary list mode for sorting is because we have all of these options. So I could sort based on percent change today. I could sort on the industry group. I could sort on scooter, whatever we like. I can sort on sector if I wanted to go add that column. Volume, whatever. I think one of the most important things is the scooter ranking. And one of the things that, just real quick here, if we get down to find kind of where's the 50% level on the scooter ranking. It's a little hard to tell, but it's roughly 2/3 of the way through. And you'll see this kind of quickly once we have once we get a little bit more into our discussion today. So I've got it set up in summary mode, but of course, if I went and looked at the charts right now, they would just go back to alphabetical sort, and that's not really what we want. So we have to save it in that other mode. So let's just go back to where we were. And we're in this mode. We've got it sorted by scooter ranking. And then what we want to do from here is we want to put a number on the front of all of these charts. So the way we do that is we go to the bottom of the page and number in sorted order. And now it's going to, whatever sort we picked, and in this case, again, we picked the scooter ranking. So all of these numbers, and it just quickly changed, the scooter ranking is live. So as we go through here, just quickly changed between Starbucks and this Cadence Systems in terms of who's got a better price action. Now, here's Cadence Systems, beautiful chart. I mean, it's just a nice, lovely uptrend, and probably doesn't get the press it deserves, considering it's in the Nasdaq 100 and has been such a smooth ride. And yeah, we talk about Tesla every day, and it's down in the dog park. So anyway, from here we've got view all, and once we get into view all mode, now we've got the chart set up to be, using our whole screen, and we can quickly scroll through. The point I would like to make is as we go through here, I want to watch what the momentum curves are doing on a lot of these charts. And again, if they're if we're going to keep going sideways and higher, this is very bullish. And obviously, this is one of the strongest charts in the group, has been that way for 5 years. Scooter ranking continues to stay mostly above 50. And, it's hardlining right now better than it ever has, up at the 99 level. You can see in here it wobbled between 77 and 90. And again, what is the scooter ranking? It's like a sports ranking for stock. Who's got better price action right now, or who's winning the most games every day? And we compare the price action against things like the 200-day moving average, or in this case, the 40-week moving average, the 125-day rate of change, 50-day moving average, 20-day rate of change, and two more fine things. One is the RSI, and one is a PPO momentum. So anyway, with that, we're going to take a quick break in the show here, and when we come back, we're going to go through these charts and just have a quick look at them. We can scan them very quickly. We're going to spend 15 minutes rolling through them. So I'll be right back.
Missed the live show? Want to rewatch a workshop? Tune into the StockCharts TV YouTube channel to catch up on the latest programming and content. All of our live shows, workshops, special guests, and more can be found there. Each category has its own playlist, so it's easy to locate. We even have chart school and creative strategy videos to help you become a better technical trader. Leave comments for our commentators, like your favorite videos, and don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel.
We're back, and we're starting with Starbucks Systems, or Starbucks Coffee Company. And again, this chart broke out of a base here roughly January 1st or early February. And as it broke out, you can see that the chart's been up and away, and really been a beautiful move, roughly 50% since then. So really a fine performer. And this PPO looks stretched to me, but they can continue to run higher. So just because it's up as the highest level of momentum it's had in 5 years doesn't make it a problem. So that's good. Hasbro, we've been following this one recently, written it up in a couple of blog articles. This one's been breaking out, and you can see a new 2-year high on the back of all of their Star Wars stuff and Marvel toys and that kind of thing. So they've been doing very, very well. Scooter ranking is showing it as one of the top performing stocks, and we're heading into the retail season, so that's probably another good reason to like it. Cintas Corp, another smooth chart, pulled back in that October timeframe where everything else started to fall apart. And again, we're up near the highest levels we've ever been at on this chart in 5 years. Doesn't make it a problem, just suggesting that things are a bit stretched. Mercado Libre, this one is Scooter ranking showing a very strong stock up here. It's been running, it's kind of gone sideways for the last 2 months, but again, look at these numbers, 600 and 650. So the scale is pretty scrunched down. High of 672, we're at 630 right now. So this one's rolled over and given us PPO cross. I would still say, that doesn't make it a sell. It's above its 50-day moving average. This is a very strong stock with a big uptrend for the last 3 or 4 years. Even if it pulled back down to the 200-day moving average, you'd probably want to buy more, not less. KL8 semiconductors. One of the things here that I want to talk about on this chart is a lot of the semiconductors today were some of the worst performers. And we can see that, just let me go get this from a chart perspective. Nasdaq 100, there we go. And what I want to show just in summary mode, view all, is when we get to this chart list, what we can do is we can sort by industry or, again, percent change today. Now, we've sorted based on the strongest stocks in the market. But the point I want to show you today is that if we say what are the weakest stocks today, what, the worst performers, if we go look through, it's AMD, EyeLinks, Micron, Semiconductor, Western Digital. All of the top chip stocks are really falling hard. And this is after they surged in a big way a few weeks ago. So we can also click on the industry group, and semiconductors would be down a little farther on this list. But, they're not exactly having a big green banner day. And look at these software names that we've been following for quite a while. Most of them are struggling, and we got a few of them in that Fiserv chart. We're going to get to it in a second, but it's an absolute beauty. So we're starting to see some of these stocks underperform a little bit as we come in here. And again, semis have been on an unbelievable run. So here's Fiserv. It's in the top 10%. And what a beautiful trend on this chart. And it hasn't been that fast moving when we compare it to something like Starbucks, up 50% since February. But this stock was at $85 in February. It's now 100 or 105. So it's up 20%, which is a pretty nice move. But really, it was sideways all the way till May 1st, and now it's actually started to run a little bit. But looking at the PPO, this might be considered somewhat extended. It's at the highest level in 5 years. So again, just a little caution on that front. Here's Synopsys, and this one, price action still holding up, definitely in an uptrend. Momentum is starting to put in a second wave here. Normally that would be something to be more cautious of. Usually as you come off a high like this, so you'll have a high, but you make a lower high before you actually start to break down. And in this case, this didn't matter even up here. So you're up at a nice high level. And I think I've mentioned it before, but kind of when they start to get below 2.5% is a place to be more cautious. Obviously in 2018, that was kind of a level where a lot of these fell apart. Here's Qualcomm. And what we see on this chart, they broke out to fresh new highs. I think we all remember the week. I think they settled with Apple that week, and the chart went bing right to the top, pulled back. And now we're just kind of consolidating right near the breakout level. So call it $66, but you can see the momentum has rolled over, and we're kind of making a lower high right here. So a little bit more concerning. Working on Texas Instruments here. This one's just breaking out, so we'll see how it holds up. It's in the semiconductor space, and based on what we saw across the board today, we'll just keep watching. And I think we remember AMD was the biggest one going down, so we'll be coming across that chart soon. Here's Apple, and it broke out to new highs here today. 214.48 was the prior high. We're still sitting at 217. So breakout after earnings. And again, that stock's buying back 75 billion. So that's kind of a bit of a repurchase there. Applied Materials, this stock is holding inside its range, I'll call it. It's still nowhere near its prior highs, but again, a semiconductor stock, you can just see all these little tops put in here from the software, just trying to pick highs and lows. It basically says if it's got a high and then lower on either side of it, it's probably an intermediate high. Anyway, there's lots of them in here. It just keeps wobbling around, not really making any progress. I will say that the scooter ranking is still up near the top. Full stochastic is turning over a little bit, but you're still above 80, so that's bullish. And again, we're on the second page here. These are very strong stocks. And the reason we know we're on the second page is because 0110 to 020 would be the second page of the leaderboard. So as we roll down here, you can see this one's gone sideways for a little while here. This is IDEC Labs, Healthcare Medical Supplies. Lam Research, this one's been trying to break out, just kind of pausing here after a big push last week. Nothing wrong with that chart. Microsoft, that thing's been ballistic. Nice work by Sachin Nadella there. Costco, again, a lot of these stocks are right up with their PPOs at some of the highest levels they've ever been at in the last 5 years. So it's hard not to be a little bit cautious when something gets running with a little bit more steam than ever before. Lululemon, this chart, again, pinned up near the top, continues to be pushing to higher highs here. Great stock to own. Intuit, again, look at these beautiful 5-year trends on these stocks. This one's actually making a lower high, and it's made a lower high from last year. So it's starting to see like it doesn't get the same sort of momentum it's previously been getting. So just something to be aware of. Now, again, we're looking at the top 20 stocks here. They're pretty good. We're going to quickly switch gears, go a little bit faster, but we're starting to see when we look through the list, like here's Western Digital, the PPO is just barely above zero and looks like it wants to roll over again. We're trying to make new highs here. So we did get a sudden shoot up, but it looks to me like there's not a lot of momentum here. We're especially right at zero, so that's a concern. ASML Holdings, Semiconductors, this broke out to a new high, trying to hold on to that. Again, still a very strong stock. Micron, this one just tried to break out to new 52-week highs, hasn't quite got there yet. In August, September here, it would be above 53. So this one's trying to hold up at the same level, but again, look at the PPO very near zero. Verisign, this is a beautiful chart, uptrending nicely. PPO up, 5-6%, very strong, so that's good news. Analog Devices, as we roll through here, this one looks like it wants to make a lower high, so a little bit of caution on that one. Again, another semiconductor name. Cerner Corp in healthcare. This one pushed to new highs and then pulled back. So this is a little cautionary. And again, the PPO got up to a 5-year high. So in terms of momentum, you don't sell 5-year highs, but you just want to be cautious as things roll over from a 5-year high. You might be getting, I'll call it more wobbly. Advanced Micro Devices, a big uptrend here on the stock. We're trying to get through 34.14, and we did briefly, but now we're starting to pull back. And again, this one's down 8% this week, so it doesn't look like much on the chart, but it's obviously been a significant move down. PPO is pretty much flat, still up at 10%. That's pretty big. eBay, this is one of the top performing stocks recently. It's been running up nicely and broke out to new 52-week highs, so that's bullish. Just want to see where that one keeps going. And again, it's still nice charts. So TakeTwo Interactive, this one's trying to get going above the prior highs at 140. We're sitting at around 124. We've broken the downslope in momentum here and starting to turn up. And again, these stocks have been pretty good runners. The real question is, can they run into the Christmas timeframe for retail? Willis Watson, Willis Towers Watson, this one has been a beautiful chart, really accelerating for the last year. Even in December, when the stock market was making lower lows, this made higher highs, broke out late January, and it's been up and away since then from 160 to 200. PPO is making its second wave up here at the top, so just a little more caution. Skyworks, another semiconductor, trying to get going. Its PPO is up at the new level, a new high for 2 years, which is very bullish. We're still seeing a downslope here, and I was hoping that this stock, as an example, would kind of make its wave and really start to go higher. I'm a little bit disappointed that it's starting to lose its momentum here and just go a little bit sideways as it approaches this prior high. Okay, So here we have microchip technology again trying to get through prior highs. Now the stocks are starting to get a little bit weaker. Ross stores, nothing really going on there, kind of trying to break through prior high. Adobe did break through, but hasn't done anything for the last 2 months. A lot lower momentum on this one. Volume dropping off quite significantly. National Semiconductor again trying to break through prior highs. Pretty low momentum. ADP processing still very bullish. So again, a lot of these charts look great and have done very well. Still 60% of them are above a scooter ranking of 50. So these charts are still fine. Again, lots of them have slightly waning momentum. So as we get down here, and I'm just going to quickly scoot to the bottom, the one thing I do want to show you is when we get out here to the bottom 40%, these charts have been in downtrends for a while. This one, Henry Schein trying to break through. And again, medical supply is showing up on this list, but unable to break out. O'Reilly Automotive sideways. PACCAR, Cummins had a terrible report, so PACCAR's been trading sideways. Wynn Resorts, again, making a lower high here, momentum at 0. So some of these look ready to fold over. Amazon's been trying to push through lower momentum on this high, which is quite interesting for that stock. Activision trying to break through this to new 2019 highs. Nothing wrong with that. JB Hunt, pretty wobbly chart. It's a big thrust 2 weeks ago, but kind of stalled right after that. We'll continue to watch. PPO is below 0. So what I'm starting to see, here's EyeLinks. This was one of the top performers. It's starting to wobble, came back up and hasn't been able to take out prior highs. So another semiconductor name looking like it wants to make a lower high. Fastenal rolling down. The big thing for me is some of these weaker stocks are starting to fall away. The strong ones are still holding up. But again, a lot of them, their momentum is very, very stretched. So briefly in my introduction, I mentioned I wanted to talk a bit about volume, and this is the S&P 5, the SPY. And if we just stretch this back to whatever, 15 years here. One of the things I want to point out is that this week or this month we'll have the lowest volume going all the way back to the 06, 05 time frame. Obviously lots of volume in the great financial crisis, and then coming down here in 2017, that July was also low. And again, looking at the chart, we were just in a steady uptrend here. Here we're trying to break out to new highs. And I would have thought if we were going to break out to new highs, we'd do it with lots of volume, not with little volume. Perhaps it could keep going. One of the things that concerns me, so we're just going to zoom in a little bit here. So this is the last couple of years. Here's that 2017 July, and we're still I think it's 70 million shares or something short of the level we hit on that July. We need to get over 1.1 billion, and we're at 1.04 billion today. And so unless we had like a remarkable day today, we're just not seeing the volume pile in here. So one of the things, again, when you get these big kind of breakouts above prior levels, you want to see the volume be pretty steady. And what we're seeing is kind of the opposite, where the volume was drying up last summer, 2018, and we fell down pretty hard. Here we are with, even lower volumes as we head into the summer. It was a month for a breakout, but you can see, look at how short the range was for this month, considering it was a big bullish month. So pardon me if I'm too bearish, but I'm, I'll point out that a lot of the charts I'm looking at that would break down before the US markets are starting to do that. And so that's one of the reasons that I'm getting a little less comfortable with new highs. So this is the ETF for Germany, and you can see we're hovering around the 40-week moving average, PPO right at 0. If it was to roll over here, that's kind of where we'd expect a chart to break down. So that's an example. And again, I'll have more of this on August 1st on Friday. Thanks for taking the time to join me on Market Buzz. Market Buzz airs live on Wednesdays and Fridays at 10:30 a.m. Eastern Time, 7:30 a.m. Pacific Time on StockCharts TV. You can also catch replays on the StockCharts YouTube channel or on StockCharts TV, which has a running list of technical charting informational shows. Thank you, and pay attention to the Fed meeting this afternoon. Bye-bye.